Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJBZO. So today I want to start looking at the Duelist Advent. It is the set coming after Primal Origins, and I realize that is extremely far in advance since the OCG hasn't even gotten this set yet. However, I feel like the majority of discussion that we're going to have about Primal Origins pre-TCG release has already been had. So until it gets to interact with the TCG a little bit, I don't think that I can add anything new to our discussion about Primal Origins. So I want to move on to the Duelist Advent because I feel like it as a set has been kind of flying under the radar while everybody's been talking about the broken new support that things are getting from Primal Origins. There have been some really cool things coming out of the Duelist Advent. Of course, it has the pendulum monsters slash spells slash whatever they are, but there are also some other things that have caught my eye. One of the things that I'm going to talk about later is, of course, the Satellanite archetype, which I highly recommend you guys check out before I do my video on them, just because A, they're really cool and they have some pretty amazing effects, and B, they're fairly complicated. I'm going to want to move through talking about them fairly quickly. But the thing I want to talk to you guys about today is the Dragonstar archetype that is coming out in the Duelist Advent. We are still missing a few cards from it. I think that we're going to get at least a Water and a Wind Dragonstar monster. We might even get a Dark Dragonstar monster. But so far, I want to talk about the Dragonstar monsters that we have so far. But before I get to actually reviewing the cards themselves, I want to do a little experiment here. So let's look at this card art. Look at that. Okay. And that. That. And that. What do those look like to you? Those all look like dragons, right? So they must be, I mean, aside from the light dragon, which looks like a constellar monster had a baby with 7 colored fish. But aside from that, they look like dragons, right? So they must be dragon type. Wrong. They are Genryu type. So apparently this entire time Konami has been planning an entirely new monster type, and nobody has mentioned it. I may have seen it get mentioned on some of the written news circuits like Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization and Yu-Gi-Oh! Edition Singapore, but I have seen no mention of it on YugiTube, and this is just kind of mind-blowing. I'll get to that in a second. Let's look at the type of monster itself. The Genryu type apparently resembles things like Tiger Dragon and Orient Dragon, so like the more Chinese and or Japanese style of looking at dragons. So that's kind of interesting, but the fact still remains that they are dragon monsters. In fact, the kanji, the name Genryu, Ryu of course means dragon, and the Gen means like phantom or illusion or mythic or apparition, so it essentially means not real dragons, so fake dragons. So Konami has made an entire monster type in their endless amounts of innovativeness and creativity. Have created a new type that they call fake dragons, basically. I'll get to why that's interesting in a second. First, I want to go through some of the main deck Dragon Stars that we have gotten so far. We are still missing, of course, the ones I mentioned earlier. So we have the Fire one called Shunge, who is level 4, 1900 0. They all have the effect that when they are destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a different Dragon Star from your deck. So that's pretty cool. And all of the non-tuner monsters have the ability that during your opponent's main phase or battle phase, you can synchro summon using them and other Dragon Star monsters as synchro material. So that's another really cool thing about this archetype, is that not only do they recycle themselves when they are destroyed, but when it's your opponent's turn, you can synchro summon with them. And considering some of the things that you've got later on in this archetype, you can get some pretty cool results with this. This guy in particular, when he's used as synchro material, the monster you synchro summon gets 500 attack and defense. So you can make a 2700 attack or 2800 attack point Armades, which is pretty darn cool. Or a 2900 attack point Librarian. There are a few things that you can do with this, but that's super cool in and of itself. Then we've got the Earth Dragon, which does the same things, except the synchro monster cannot be destroyed by battle instead of gaining that 500 attack, which is okay. I would have preferred it if it was can't be destroyed by card effects, but you know, you can't have everything. It's a level 3, 1600 attack, which on its own is pretty darn cool. But that's interesting. The really interesting one of the main deck monsters is the Light Dragon Refune, who has, when it's destroyed by battle, etc. effect, by battle or card effect, you can special summon another one from your deck. But when one of your other Dragonstar monsters is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. It's banished when it leaves the field after doing that, but that in and of itself is awesome. So if you have this in your grave and you get the Earth Dragon during your opponent's, you can like set the Earth Dragon during your opponent's battle phase. They attack into the Earth Dragon, and then you use it to summon the Fire Dragon, and you summon this guy from your grave, and your opponent attacks, and you synchro for a 2800 attack point Armades. I mean, that's pretty cool. I don't know what you guys think, but that's pretty awesome. But I can only imagine what the board meeting was like for this. And in this scenario that I'm thinking of, they were originally Dragon-type monsters. So they're thinking, so first they're like, okay, so you can use them to synchro summon during your opponent's turn. Yeah, this will make us tons of money. Oh, dude, and you know what will make us rich? If they can special summon from the deck when they're destroyed. Yeah, and they'll be perfect, because they'll go with all these old Dragon-type monsters and archetypes like Dragon Rulers. Fuck. Anybody got any ideas? And the intern Johnson in the back is like, why don't we make them a different type of monster? Johnson, you're a genius. We'll call them fake dragons. Not real dragons, they'll be fake dragons, just so we don't have to ban the Dragon Rulers. Excellent. That's the only scenario I can think of in which Konami would have come up with the Genryu, the fake dragon archetype or monster type, just out of the blue. So really, this is just silly. But let's move on to the final monster I think really makes this archetype worth it if you didn't think that this was cool enough already, which is the big boss monster, Shofuku. It's a level 8 synchro, this Genryu. It's a synchro effect monster. 2450, 2600, so not great stats. And it's level 8, which so far we don't have any level 4 tuners for this deck, so you have to use Light Dragon, Earth Dragon, and Fire Dragon in order to put it on the board, which seems like an extremely steep price to pay for a 2450 attack point monster until you read its effect, which is when it's synchro summoned, you can target any number of cards on the field up to the number of different original attributes of Genryu type monsters used as synchro material monsters, and shuffle those targets into the deck. So if you use all three of those, the Earth, Light, and Fire, you get to choose 3 cards on the field and shuffle them into the deck, which is freaking amazing on its own. But then it has its second effect, which is once per turn you can target 1 card you control and 1 level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard, destroy the first target, and if you do, special summon the second target from the graveyard. Oh my god, that is ridiculous. Because if you use this, of course, in conjunction with your Dragonstar monsters, then they will just special summon another monster from your deck. And then you can summon your Refune from your graveyard with your Dragon's effect. Or you can summon another monster from your graveyard and then you use Refune's effect to bring it back from the graveyard. And then you can do even more synchro summoning. So I already foresee this archetype being amazing. I am loving it, and I am trying to find some new cards that I can get in order to get ready for this. But this is one of those archetypes that you're going to have to look out for when Duelist Advent comes around, because it is going to be awesome. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, I will be doing more reporting on this archetype as we learn more about it. But I hope you guys would like to discuss this archetype and are excited about it, because I certainly am. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.